Have you ever had an employer tell you that they'll keep you on file after a failed interview? If so, how many of them have actually called you back? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to answer why. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to answer the question, why does an employer tell you they're going to keep you on file, but they never call you back? If you've done any level of interviewing, you've probably encountered this one before, and it can be pretty maddening, especially if you're just trying to get closure, and it's almost like they keep the door open just slightly for you. And that faint promise of some hope in the future generally never pays off in the end. So I want to answer from a recruiter's perspective why companies might say that, and how you should handle those situations. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in learning how to reclaim power and take control of your career, make sure you sign up for my free weekly newsletter. In it, I share concise, actionable tips on how to reclaim your power and start to approach your career with more authority. So make sure you sign up for it. It's absolutely free. So somebody actually posted on Reddit about this, and I want to just read through what their question is. And it says, why do employers say they'll keep you on file but never actually reach out to you? And this was written by Mango Lip Gloss. They say, this has happened to me probably a dozen times now, and it baffles. The potential employer will go through the interview process and it'll seem like it goes really well. And then they let me know that they went with somebody else. Of course, we've all probably experienced that before for sure. Whatever that, and it's just whatever, that's life. They say they'll keep me on file for consideration in the future. Great. Maybe the other choice won't work out, kind of keep your options open. But then boom, a week or a month goes by, the same position is reposted by the same company. If they didn't feel it was a good fit, why not just say it wasn't a good fit? Why lie and pretend that you have some stockpile of qualified candidates to call back when you're just going to go through the job board and every other week looking for fresh meat? No, seriously, can anybody shed some light on this practice? So let's break it down from a recruiter's perspective. When you put a slate of candidates through an interview process, you'll usually have a gold medal candidate or a gold medal finalist, which is usually the person that gets the offer. Then you'll oftentimes have a silver medalist, which is a second place person, which is pretty good, and they would probably get the job, but they're not quite as good as the gold medalist. The gold medalist is the one the hiring manager has their eye on. And then you have the bronze candidates, which are maybe hireable, but they're definitely a step behind the first two candidates in the process. So generally, an employer will try to keep all of these candidates warm while they finish up with the gold medalist. They want to try to get through an offer process before they reject anybody else, because they want to make sure that that person accepts the offer. And then if they don't, then they'll move to the silver medalist and then kind of down the line. And if it gets to the point where it's the bronze medalist, the hiring manager then has to make a decision. Do I want to keep on recruiting and see if I can find somebody better? Or do I go ahead and essentially they're settling for the bronze candidate. So when a recruiter or when a hiring manager tells you that they're going to keep you on file after they've rejected the slate of candidates, you are probably a bronze candidate or a bronze medal candidate at best. And if not, you might have actually not even been truly being considered. And in this person's case, kind of the example that they gave, I would probably expect or guess that they were just being wishy-washy. They didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. They probably just said some niceties to kind of just close it out and move on without having to truly, break somebody's will. Recruiters don't love rejecting people. It's not something that we get any enjoyment out of. But of course, the closure is something that everybody deserves. Sounds like this person is actually getting closure, which is good. But I don't know why the recruiter needs to leave the door kind of cracked saying, oh, we'll give you a call. Because let's face it, there are some, especially if it's a company that you really got your eyes set on and they tell you, oh, we'll keep you on file, the job seeker might start thinking, well, there's a chance. It's kind of like that Dumb and Dumber quote, like,
so you're telling me there's a chance.
And I will say there are times where I have said this to a candidate too and legitimately meant it. I had a really strong candidate and then somebody that was just slightly behind them, but we liked them nearly as much. Just for whatever reason, candidate A was the better fit. They accepted the offer, but we still really liked candidate B. It's almost like if we had two jobs, we would offer them both. And in that case, I actually have called candidates back later on and gotten them into the interview process and gotten them hired. And alternatively, there have been times, especially in larger companies, you might find this where they've got large candidate databases. So I'm thinking like Amazon, we would routinely go in and source off of rejected candidates that graded well on their interviews, but just didn't get hired. They're a silver medalist for whatever reason. So we would often go and try to re-recruit them because they were already expressing interest, at least got through a certain point of the interview process, and hopefully their experience was positive enough that they'd be willing to re-engage the recruiter. So it does happen from time to time. I would say it's probably fairly rare, but it does happen enough that it's worth mentioning. But in this case, if an employer is reposting the job after saying that, you can kind of just assume that you were a bronze candidate or worse, and they just weren't being forthcoming with you about the status of your resume. Anytime I get rejected, I'm acting like the CEO of my career. I'm acting like a free agent, and I'm always keeping my options open. I am applying until my butt's in a seat. And I think somebody had mentioned in the comments once that they wait until they get their first paycheck. And I actually think that that's a great idea, to keep on applying to jobs until you get your first paycheck, because we've seen crazier things happen in the job market. So if I'm somebody in this case where there's this kind of false promise of, don't worry, we'll call you in the future, it doesn't really impact me all that much, because I'm not letting the grass grow under my feet. I'm immediately applying to this company, and this company all at the same time. And I'm making sure that I'm choosing the best opportunity for me first and foremost. So in this case, unfortunately, it just sounds like you had some kind of spineless or recruiters that don't have a backbone that are trying to soften the blow, even though they realistically knew that they weren't going to move forward with your candidacy for another role. So that's kind of what I would take out of this one. But if you're somebody that is experiencing frustration at job search, that's actually something that I specialize in. I do have a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective. And I do share some of my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of some training courses. First one is that Resume Rocketfuel course, which is going to teach you how to write a resume that's going to give you the best chance of getting noticed by the recruiter to start getting more of those interviews. And then we want to be the gold medal candidate. And that's where the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp comes in. And we teach you how to go through each step of that interview process with strength, so that you convince the hiring manager that you're the best possible fit and that you're the one that's getting the offer, while some other poor schlub is getting the, don't worry, we'll keep you on file and call you later. But the most preferable way to get through the interview process is to skip the recruiter altogether. And that's where Unlocking LinkedIn comes in, because it teaches you how to set up a profile on LinkedIn and then how to leverage it in order to get the best opportunities, get those recruiters to come and start finding you, access the hidden job market, which is a thing, and in general, leverage the platform to increase the outreach that you get from those recruiters. Because trust me, it's a lot easier to get hired when you have the right recruiter and the right opportunity coming and seeking you out versus the other way around. Anyway, hopefully this short video answers the question for you and get you back into the workforce as quickly as you can. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.